we recommend you take this moment to do what we're about to do, which is enjoy an Alp.
Have been unbelievably remarkable. Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities together, not bombing each other out of existence. We don't want that. And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. No, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spent trillions and trillions of dollars failing to develop Kabul, Baghdad, so many other cities. Instead, the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves, the people that are right here, the people that have lived here all their lives, developing your own sovereign countries, pursuing your own unique visions and charting your own destinies in your own way. It's really incredible what you've done. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. They told you how to do it, but they had no idea how to do it themselves. Peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately came not from a radical rejection of your heritage, but rather from embracing your national traditions and embracing that same heritage that you love so dearly.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Thanks for joining us today. Today's theme of the show is deception of the neocons. We have really worked hard to bring you a show that can gel all the intelligence and all the stuff we see globally into a comprehensive package that you can understand. And that's what the intelligence briefings are supposed to do for a leader and of the free world, like the president's presidential brief. That's what we're trying to do here. So we want you to understand the deception that's gone on over the last 20, 30, 40 years, even longer, against the American people, against the West, against humanity even. And as Trump changes the Middle East in front of our eyes, that is on full display today. I want to welcome the crew. You're clear and hot in the chat. Thanks for joining us today. They've already gotten started. Appreciate it. Love all the regulars. Love all the comments. We'll continue to highlight those as able and or needed. In the cold open, you saw Trump in Saudi Arabia, rousing speech. I mean, that speech was amazing. And I'm probably going to play it again here in a minute after the break when we get into this in more depth, because it really was a game changer in the Middle East. You saw the attempted assassination attempt, which looks like it did kill the right guy. In Gaza, basically going after the number 2 Hezbollah guy, or now the number 1 guy, was the number 2 by Israel. You saw Trump in Qatar, and then you saw the weird climate change satanic ceremony. I mean, the more and more I look at all this, the more I realize this is a spiritual battle. We are fighting the enemies of humanity, the enemies of God's creation, and that is what you saw in that ceremony. Just bizarre. But wow, just really, really up in your grill, as they say. So we have a big show today. We're going to talk about how the warmongers and the dark triad have tried to kill humanity and tried to stop Christianity in progress. We're going to dig into that, but we've got some great guests today. Where in all of Western media have you had a reporter direct from Moscow? We're going to have that today with Thierry Laurent, friend of the show. From France. He's in Moscow, is at the Victory Day parade. We're going to get directly from him on what's going on there. And we're going to talk about Chris Gleason and his new evidence continuing that we have been reported on for years with the Trump administration. Now it looks like is taking a listen of the corrupt voting machines in the United States. Liz Harrington, who's on the inside the wire at Team Trump, has come out and said, look, what Chris is saying is right. So again, major progress. Chris is coming on at the top of the second hour, but we're going to take a break here. And when we come back, we're going to talk with Thierry Laurent, direct from Moscow. Stand by. Hold on. Be back on the SCIF.
Celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7. I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order
Tucker
now.
Carlson, you may have noticed that the companies whose products you buy tend to kind of hate you. They're controlled by massive multinational corporations, and they have all kinds of weird agendas that you're supporting when you buy their products. We didn't realize that nicotine pouches, which we've used for years, were in this category. We just want a nicotine pouch. And then they lecture you and take the money you give them to support things that you hate. So we decided we're going to make our own, and we did. And it is, we can say, not bragging here, just stating fact, the single best nicotine pouch in the world. It's called ALF, and it comes in all kinds of excellent flavors. Wintergreen, tropical fruit, chilled mint, refreshing chill, sweet nectar, and a bunch of others that we're rolling out. By the way, there are 20 per tin, not 15 like some of our competitors who will not be named. Zyn. And they're in 3, 6, and 9 milligrams. It is the single best nicotine pouch ever made. Go to alppouch.com. You will not regret it.
Of the Green Beret, silver wings upon their chest. These are men, America's best. 100 men will test today, but only 3 win the Green Beret.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Some Green Beret music there for all our soft audience out there, special operations guys, big part of this audience. And we got a treat for you. Thierry Laurent was in Moscow. He was right there in the parade, saw it all, and we're going to bring him on and talk about what's going on in the capital of Russia. Thierry, thank you for coming on, my friend. How are you?
Thank you very much, and especially thank you to welcome me within your show. It's always a great pleasure, in fact, to discuss this, the geopolitical situation that is developing in Europe, in the world, in Ukraine, Russia, and so on. So basically, first of all, what I would like to do is to thank the people that has been imposing the sanction. You know why? Because I am in the Crown Plaza in Moscow, and I pay $80 a night. It's a 5-star hotel, and it used to be $450 to $600 per room, and it's absolutely incredible. The level of services is wonderful. The food is very cheap, and I am a happy camper here, you know. So to give you an idea of the situation is that 1 month ago, I was in a geopolitical meeting in Paris, and it was in the 18 neighborhood, okay? And exiting this event, which was like a big success because about 800 people have been applying to listen to whatsoever we had to say. And exiting, I was with a colleague coming from the European Union. He's a political advisor. And we went into a bar. We have been paying for a shot of vodka, 12 centiliter. We paid 60 euro.
Yeah, I hope it was good vodka.
Russian standard, the best of the best. The same shot, the same quantity, but local. In the room, I paid $5.
Wow.
$5. So I'm just wondering if I'm not going to stay here.
It's amazing what currency exchange rates will do. I guess the ruble has been going up nicely.
Yeah. So basically, in fact, the trip was kind of difficult due to the geopolitical context. You know that Zelensky has been launching 2 days before a massive attack on Moscow with something like 500 drones. So basically, the ambience was kind of electric. And when I arrived in Istanbul, and actually I do recommend the people in America to avoid the company Pegasus, because they are treating people in the way you would not even believe. But I am not going to spread myself in detail. It was absolutely disgusting. The way that they have been handling the customer. We spent the entire nights, in fact, to find another room because they have been canceling our flight. They were telling me that I will be landing 3 days after the parade at my expense. It has been disgusting. So I had, in fact, to cancel all my flights with them, to move out to the principal airport in Istanbul, and then to buy a new ticket to make sure, and I have been flying with Aeroflot, to make sure I will be landing the right way, in fact, to attend the parade. So basically, one in another, I managed, in fact, to land in Moscow at 1 o'clock in the morning. It took me kind of a while, in fact, to cross the border, to get a taxi and so on. And I arrived in the hotel at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to the parade. So I was kind of tired, and actually all the roads were blocked. So basically impossible to get a taxi. So I had, in fact, to walk for about a mile to access, in fact, the surrounding of the Kremlin that has been completely secure. And of course, I have been attending this absolutely incredible parade. Before to go into the description of this event, I need to tell you a detail that is extremely important. Stammer has been pushing Zelensky to launch a massive attack on the Red Square. At the moment, 80 statements were attending the event. And the Minister of Foreign Affairs from China has been calling Stammer and said, you are going to retain your psychopath, because if something wrong is happening, I can promise you that he has no idea what is awaiting for him.
This is the British Prime Minister that the Chinese threatened, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, in fact, Zelensky has been returning the situation, saying that he has been asked, in fact, to guarantee the security of the event. This guy is just unbelievable. Whatsoever is on the table, you can be sure he is going to reverse completely the situation. This is just not acceptable. This guy is not a professional. He is high on cocaine all day long. And at a point in time, he's losing completely his mind and the ground to reality. So he needs to understand that the game is over. And he needs, in fact, to make sure that the things are happening the right way to stop, in fact, this bloodshed. Actually, I have been receiving this morning a document from my contact, Prozorov, who used to be a colonel of the SBU, meaning the Secret Services of Ukraine. And he was in total disagreement with the policy of the country. So he has been leaving, and now he's living in Moscow. Actually, I was having dinner with him yesterday. And so basically, he has been sending me the document that Zelensky has been signing, forbidding himself, in fact, to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. So basically, before to go to Istanbul, the first thing that he needs to do is to cancel this document. And he didn't do it. And now he is just turning this, twisting the things around, saying, oh, I am going to Istanbul. And Vladimir Putin is very scared of me. This is the reason why he's not going to attend the event. And actually, in the next couple of hours, we will know who will constitute the delegation coming from Russia.
Well, it's going to be Lavrov and Ushakov, I understand. But, even Trump didn't. I mean, it's like demanding Trump go to Iran to negotiate or Trump go to Gaza to negotiate instead of Witkoff. It's ridiculous, right? I mean,
it doesn't make sense.
The leader doesn't go until the end to close the deal, usually. That's how it works.
Exactly. So basically, you need to put together the environment necessary for in the way that the negotiation makes sense.
Right.
On the side of everybody. And as soon as this is done, of course, you are gathering the leaders in the way that they are concluding the deal, adjusting little whatsoever is on the table that can satisfy both parties. So basically what is happening right now is that Zelensky is turning the things around when in fact he don't have any card in the hands, the way that Trump has been saying it. Yeah. So what is going to be coming out of this entire story, I am not sure that this is going to land anything. On top of it, I have been listening to the speech of Vladimir Putin about 1 hour ago. And the guy was saying, if European Union, they want to apply some sanctions, fine. Well, actually, in regard of the comfort that I am living in, please continue. so, on the side of the joke, what is happening? I have been hearing that General Kellogg and Witkoff are going to come there. And both of them, they are sending different signals that are completely
Yes, they are. Kellogg, I'm not sure Kellogg is on the team. I think Trump keeps Kellogg around just to have a balance, but he's definitely not on the right side, I think. That's just my guess.
Yeah. Well, this is what I've been reading from the New York Times this morning. So basically, there are so many counter information that are fusing from here and there that at the end of the story to understand, in fact, what is really going on, it is quite difficult. Nevertheless, Kellogg has been coming out with a new declaration saying that he is trying to gather a team of countries in Europe, in fact, to install the NATO members within, in fact, the front line in the way that there will be a separation between the belligerents. This guy haven't been understanding after 6 months that this is still the source of the problem. Kellogg is making a mess out of this negotiation, and he need, in fact, to withdraw himself, because this is sending a very, very bad signal, and he is putting oil on the fire. Beside this, right now, I do believe that Macron might have been receiving a very, very strong message from Trump, and I explain. Yesterday, he has been coming out with a statement saying that anyway, France will not send any more materials because there is absolutely nothing left within our warehouse.
They don't have anything to send, neither do the British. So this is all threats, right?
Yeah. And on top of it, the financial situation of France right now is in a stage, this is really, really scary. Not only is this guy was promising, in fact, to shrink the level of the debt, which he hasn't been doing, but on top of it, he has been increasing the debt of $1,000 billion. Mm-hmm. So basically, the country right now is in the brinks of bankruptcy. If we are not considering the non-provisional, if we are including the non-provisional, we are at a level of $7,600 billion in debt, which is more than the double of the GDP. The country is done, my friend.
Yes.
The interest rates applied to the 10 years yield is about 3.3%. The number of companies that has been declaring bankruptcy in 12 months is 67,000. Do you realize this number? It is worse than whatsoever has been happening during the subprime crisis. This is just a gigantic mess. So basically, those guys are playing cocky. They are playing cocaine within trains when they go to Kiev, which is completely ridiculous. And at the end of the story, you know, they want, in fact, to raise the tension instead of saying, instead of playing mellow and saying, okay, now the game is over. It's time for us to recognize that we are done, and let's make sure that, in fact, the situation is going to settle down. No, they continue, in fact, their rhetoric. This is ridiculous.
I think they want a nuclear war. But let me ask you, what does the French public, the guy on the street in Paris, think of Macron and Starmer and, you know, them sniffing cocaine on the train on the way back from Kiev?
People are really angry.
Yeah.
Really, really angry, because this is showing an image of leaders that that would be equivalent to teenagers going to nightclub.
Right.
This is irresponsible.
Well, they're all party boys. They're just party boys. They're not leaders.
Yeah,
they're just you know, clubbers. You know, they're actors.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm not very surprised, because I had some, how to say, some echo regarding what is happening in l'Élysée on the Saturday night. Mm-hmm. And this is like a sort of gay parade, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So basically,
it's a pride festival.
Yeah. So people start to realize that something is wrong in the picture. Mm-hmm. And actually, what is happening within, in fact, the parliament is that the Prime Minister Bayrou is in a gigantic difficulties, because nobody wants, in fact, to vote the budget that he has been defining. Mm-hmm. And he is asking the French people right now, in fact, to reimburse the gigantic mess of the debt they have been triggering because of the lockdown within the COVID period. On top of it, and listen to that, because this is hot. Bayrou is coming from the southwest of France, and his daughter was in a college called Gettr. And we have been learning from the press now that there was a gigantic sex scandal within hundreds and hundreds of students and pupils have been abused, in fact, by priests. Mm-hmm. And the daughter of this guy, of this prime minister, was inside the school. And in fact, to counterpart this story and to make sure that he will be off the hook when, in fact, the judge are going to jump on the story, he's saying that his daughter has been abused. And I do believe that this story is completely made up. And this is his way, in fact, to escape a lawsuit, because he was a political responsible of this region, and he was knowing everything about it, because we have a lot of letters that has been sent to him by different people that were complaining, and he was not doing anything. It was like, please don't make any scandal. Let's forget about it. No, I am sorry, we cannot. Hundreds of kids have been abused. This is just disgusting. And this guy is saying that he's a very religious person, that he believes in God, that he go to church. What the heck is this?
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me that, in fact, my country is going down the drain, period. And all those leaders, they are just corrupted and they are just perverted. This is a scandal, and this story is going to turn very bad, because not only sex scandal everywhere, the story of cocaine, and now this guy want to confiscate, in fact, our assets. Enough.
This is the guy that is running for the RN, correct? For
No. Beirut is a guy from the center. Okay,
I see. Okay,
we are not talking about Bardella.
I got them
Who
confused.
is trying to take advantage of the difficulties that Marine Le Pen is having on a juridical point of view to position himself for the next election. This guy is 28 years old, and he's so stupid. You cannot even imagine. When you are listening to this guy, you're like, not only he's not educated, not only he never worked in his life, he has been just surfing the Le Pen family, saying that he was dating, in fact, one of the niece of Marine Le Pen. But what we have been discovering is that he is also in the gay club of all those guys within the Élysée. You see? Yeah. So basically, it seems to us that he's completely controlled. And this is the reason why, in fact, the opposition is pushing him, because they know he has absolutely no chance to be elected. So
let me ask you this: it seems to me, I mean, and I don't care what you do in your bedroom. If you want to be gay, fine. Just don't tell it to my kids. But there's rumors about Merz. There's rumors about Starmer that came out with videos of him kissing some guy. There's rumors about Macron. There's Zelensky that we know. So all of these guys may be gay. They don't have any children. I mean, they don't really care what happens, because people who have families and children care about the future. Is there any weight to what I'm saying?
Well, this is what I think about this kind of situation. Whatsoever, as you said, they can do in their bedroom, it is not our problem.
Right.
But at least the first thing that they need to do is to be transparent, because then they give the choice to people to accept or not. And if you want to be a representative of a society, in fact, you need to look like a society. You see, when you look at the French government, we have something like 50 to 60% of gay guys inside the government. What the heck is this?
Well, let me just interrupt. I had a source in Ukraine, in Kiev, who he's a very professional guy. He tried to get a job in the Zelensky government, and he went in for the interview, and he had a wedding ring on. And they said, "Are you married?" And he said, "Yes." And they said, "No, we don't take any guys that are married.
Are you
we
kidding?
only want gay guys." So that was in Kiev. That was a few years ago. So that's from the horse's mouth that I heard this story. I mean, he didn't make it up.
Oh, this is disgusting.
Yeah.
But if you look at the way that the Ukrainian society is evolving in regard of what the agenda of the West is imposed, those guys, in fact, they are shifting to whatever is happening in Europe, but they are forgetting something very important. All those guys that are on the front line, that are fighting, they are all coming from a different extremist group.
Yeah.
All of them related to neo-Nazism. Your private sector, Azov, C-14, Hammer, White Hammer, and so on. Carpathian Sich. All those guys, when are going to come back to Kiev, if they see this is not going to fly at all.
Yeah.
So let's now go back, in fact, to this parade that was absolutely incredible. I was walking along.
I have the videos, by the way, if you want me to play them.
You can send some video, and then I will comment.
Okay, there's two here. Let me just play this.
Помаши маме ручкой.
Well, this. Okay.
So Thierry, before you go, I have a close friend who's involved in this. He's not Russian, but he's involved in what's going on in the country. And he said the EU and the US don't realize they have created the most united and proud country on earth. They are taking amazing care of their veterans and are thriving as a nation. What do you say to that?
This is what I am going to describe what I saw. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the people that you have been, the servicemen that you have been seeing parading on the video, it is just the comeback from the Red Square. So basically, we could not access the Red Square because it was extremely securized in regard of the type of people that were attending. Mm-hmm. So basically, those guys were coming back, and every time that there was like a battalion passing, the crowd was opening itself in a full order without anybody to ask or whatsoever. Nobody yelling. There was a discipline I've never seen in a population. It was incredible. So when I exited, in fact, the hotel, I was walking along the Moskva River. Okay, and I see on the other side, on the left-hand side, two lines of buses that were bringing the servicemen to parade on the Red Square for 2 miles. Mm-hmm. 2 miles, 2 lines of bus. So basically, I have been counting something like 20,000 people that were parading. Mm-hmm. But not only this, then there was the vehicle, the tanks, the BMPs, the anti-missile system, the etc., etc. And during 45 minutes, non-stop on the bridge going above the Moskva, and below this bridge, you have like a sort of road that is going along, in fact, the river. Mm-hmm. And it was crossing like this, non-stop during 45 minutes. So my conclusion is the following. Those guys, they have been igniting their industrial system at the point they can produce an amount of material that is absolutely gigantic. That is the first point. Mm-hmm. The second point, in regard of the unity of all the people, the crowd, the military, and so on, I can tell you one thing. There was like a big signal sent to NATO. Mm-hmm. That was like, stop, or we continue. Yes. It is very clear. If you look at the countries that have been invited, you can realize one thing is that the next economic power is going to be the BRICS. You have the full Asia, you have Africa, you have Russia. Everybody was together in the full lines of order. So mm-hmm. basically the signal was very clear. And the other signal that they have been sending to and Ukraine and European Union is that, look, you were free guys to go to Kiev. Look, we have the world with us. And the different countries that have been attending are representing something like 85% of this planet. So they need to understand that there was a very big geopolitical shift. And now we need to make sure that we are all going to work together. Because if we don't do so, where we go? To a third world war? What would be the point? To destroy?
Well, I don't know what's going on in your country, but the Europe is dying, obviously. To me, it's a tyrannical regime. It's a Fourth Reich. That's what the EU was built for. Who's behind it? Who knows? Maybe Moscow, maybe Beijing, maybe, I don't know. But they've destroyed Western Europe. So if the Europe wants to survive, they've got to come up from the grassroots and take back their countries. Is that going to happen?
Mm-hmm. Well, I had a discussion with the CEO of a company that is supporting the backbone of the Belt and Road Initiative not later than this morning. Okay. And what I can say is the following. Russia don't really care about the sanction. They are suffering somewhat because the amount of flow of containers that are going back and forth between China and Europe has been shrinking just on the outbound, meaning from Europe to China. But on the other side, it has been increasing dramatically. They have been gaining of 12% in traffic. So basically, who has been punished by those sanctions? The European thinking that they will be crushing Russia, and they have been crushing themselves. This is the stupidest move on the economical point of view I ever seen in my life. And if you look at the GDPs of all the country, the SME index, and so on, in every countries in Europe or globally, everybody is just collapsing. France has got the SME index of 47.6. It means we are in a recession for the last three quarter. Where do we go like that? And those guys, they continue, in fact, their rhetoric saying, oh, we are going to put another set of sanctions. And the Russians, they are like, okay, go ahead. This is your problem. This is not ours.
Well, it's my feeling that Europe has become the Fourth Reich, and you have the Washington that is just washing its hands of Europe. And it said, I want to be with Russia. And if you see what Trump is doing in the Middle East, he's saying, I want to be with the money in the Middle East, where in Dubai and in Saudi Arabia. And he's building prosperity for all. And if the EU doesn't want to be part of it, then they will be left behind and destroyed. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, it's called pragmatism. It is called, in fact, real politics. Trump has been understanding that United States have been pushing away too far in regard of the debt. And he needs to solve a gigantic problem that can be exploding anytime. Interest rates are very high. You have $1.2 trillion of interest, in fact, to pay every year. He wants to push the Feds, in fact, to pull down the interest rate in the way that he can refinance the debt. Yes. And of course, Powell, who is like a Democrat, he wants to make sure that Trump will be failing out of this story.
Yeah, he's an operative too, just like Zelensky, just like Macron, all of them. They're all put in place for a reason.
So basically what the guy is doing is just playing the hardball to make sure that Trump will be failing. The only problem is that Trump has been playing a very dangerous game with China. I wouldn't have been doing this. I would have been saying, listen, Xi Jinping, we are going to discuss. Let's not go into a trade war because we are going to destabilize the market. And when people are losing a lot of money, you know what is happening? They are not making people happy. So basically, people have their 401k indexed on the stock market. If the stock market is collapsing, then people are going to lose their retirement. And this, in my opinion, was a very serious mistake. I will
have to disagree with you there because I think that was the shock value that needed to happen, but we can agree to disagree. I think things are well on the way to mending there. The market's at all-time highs as we speak, essentially. But go ahead.
Well, you know, in this kind of context, you need to be very careful the way that you are moving around, in fact, your policy, because this can be misinterpreted, you see? So basically, you might have been thinking that people will be shifting their assets, in fact, to the bond market, but this hasn't been happening. And this is a big problem, you know. Look at what Japan is doing now. They are very scared of the fact that the situation in the United States start to be like a kind of unstable. And what they did, they have been selling all their bonds of the United States, and they have been buying the Chinese bond. Don't forget.
But at the end of the day, why do you don't want your money with the Chinese Communist Party? You know, that's the only save. We're the cleanest shirt in the dirty pile right now, in my opinion. But go ahead.
You know, I'm going to tell you something. We are in a period during which we are dealing with our enemies. We are trading with our enemies. We are fighting against, in fact, our friends, and so on. So basically, the relationship that are established within the world depends on, in fact, the interest of the moment and the interest of the project. So we need to be very careful and to choose wisely the kind of fight that we are taking. So basically, you see, the dollar is kind of weak right now, which has been inducing a lot of exogenous inflation. And as, in fact, people inside the United States are drowning under debt, you need to be very careful, because exogenous in this context can be terrible for the economy. So basically, Trump needs, in fact, to manage the goat and the cabbage. You see, he needs the goat to take the milk, and he needs the cabbage to make a soup. But the goats want to eat the cabbage. So, it's very difficult. You see the analogy that I am making, you see? Because
wise words from France.
Yeah. If the interest rates are going down, what is going to happen? Investors, they're going to say, oh, we want to find some assets that are going to give us a better return on investment. So therefore, it's very difficult to make sure that you can refinance the debt if the interest rate is very low, because there will be a lot of offering, but not a lot of demands. And don't forget also one thing is that who owns the biggest amount of debt of the United States? The new enemy of America, which is Europe. Because most of the leaders in Europe, if we can call them leaders, because they are not leaders, in my opinion, they are just managing their own interests. And this is something I was saying on the Russian television a few days ago. So these guys, they are like, okay, you are not a globalist. You go against, in fact, our subculture. You are against the gay. You are against this, against that. You don't want to recognize that a man who are wearing a wig with two orange below the plover is a woman. Okay, we are going to kill your debt, and we will see who is going to win. So in this story, Trump has a bigger enemy right now than Russia. Russia is open, in fact, to do business. Depending on your...
I agree. I mean, Europe is against the United States. And I think that's because the leaders in place are working for Beijing. But that's a bigger, or at least they're working for the globalist agenda. They're not working for the people of France or England or whatever.
In fact, they are working for themselves. The only interest that they have is to make sure to frighten the population. First of all, to tell them, look, we are going to be attacked by Russia. Russia is going to eat us. Vladimir Putin is going, in fact, to make some toast in the morning with the skin of your kids and eat them in the coffee. In fact,
meanwhile they're trafficking hundreds of thousands of children in the dark themselves. But
I have a lot of stories regarding the traffic of kids that are flowing inside of Europe to feed some pedophile ring. This is really disgusting. And even the Prince Andrew has been caught in this story. I have a lot of documents about it. That has been happening during the summer of 2023, and I will send you some source. So basically, those guys, they want to scare the population in the way that they will be accepting, one, the federalization of Europe, when in fact there are a lot of countries that are saying now, enough, we don't want that.
Yes.
We have Hungary, we have Slovakia, Bulgaria is on the brinks of separation, Romania is, very borderline, and this entire story is going to collapse completely. And they are in panic, and they try to do whatsoever necessary, because at the end of the story, they want to confiscate the assets of European Union in the way that they will be, in fact, feeding the debt. And they don't know how to solve the problem, so much it is big. It is
a lot of people are talking about that, is that the debt, and they are going to have a war because they have to, because otherwise the economy collapses in Europe. I mean, that's plain as you can see.
Not only that, in my opinion, what they try to do is to do a soft landing of the economy, and at the end of the story, put the population in front of the fact, saying, listen, we are going, in fact, to emit a new currency. It's going to be like a CBDC. an electronic euro, and the parity between the real euro and the CBDC is going to be 1-for-2 in the way that we are going to divide the debt by 2. And they are going to take advantage of this to make sure they will be controlling, in fact, the population, meaning, in fact, the object of the transaction, because they are going to put themselves in the middle to control the usage of your own wallet. And this is not acceptable. Actually, end of June, I am going to be in front of Christine Lagarde, and I am going to warn her. I'm going to tell, listen, if you play with the CBDC, you are going to face the angriness of everybody in Europe, because I am going to raise the people against you. And this is what I am going to do. It's out of question. She will be able, in fact, to control the entire planet. This is off the ground. You see?
Yeah. It's out of control.
I have another information for you, but to take with caution, okay? I had a discussion with somebody yesterday that is looking forward to validate the information I've been receiving from a diplomat. It seems that Budanov, the chief of the secret services of Ukraine, has been trapping 15 nuclear reactors with plastic. And we are suspecting him, in regard of his behavior for the last 3 years, that if something is going wrong during the negotiation, he will blow up, in fact, all the reactor. So basically, we make some kind of blackmail to the European leaders to say, if you are not supporting us, and if we cannot continue the conflict, I am going to trigger a gigantic accident. This would be 100 times worse than Chernobyl. And an event like this will be eradicating 50% of the population in Europe. You realize this? So basically, I'm waiting for the confirmation of this information. As soon as I will be sure that this has been happening, we need to make sure to pressure Zelensky and Budanov to say, no, you are going to stop. You are going to stop. It is enough.
Thierry, thank you very much. Everyone can check out his book, From History of Books, Ukraine, A Warning to the World. It's available anywhere books are sold. Very interesting information that you won't find anywhere else. Thierry, thank you. Coming from Moscow, we really appreciate it. I'm out of time. I have to move on, but I will have you back and look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay. I'm just waiting for the discourse of Vladimir Putin in about a couple of hours, and he will take the decision if he goes there or not. I don't really know. Personally, in regard of the document that Zelensky has been signing, I do not believe a second he will go there.
At least not. He may come later, but not initially, because that would be like giving in to Zelensky. He's not going to do that. I agree. Okay. We'll see you next time, Thierry. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good day, Todd.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
Pandemic, we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down, and doctors' offices were shut down. And even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. We have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
So we are in the factory in Kentucky. This is Alp World HQ, and we are at the end of the packing line. So I'm going to show you how it works. We have the card, throw it in there. There's a packing slip, and then you have the Alp. And 4, but that seems honestly like a lot. 3 now, but it's good. You just pack a punch that, you know, for a normal nicotine brand, it'd be like 8. You know, we think 3 is fine. Next one. Again, 4. Let's throw 3 in just to keep it fair. Okay? There you go. So you can see you can get fast at this. And really, it's just a matter of repetition. This is kind of the assembly line that, you know, Henry Ford devised so long ago.
Tucker's stealing all the Alp.
Welcome back to the SCIF. I want to just bring to your attention the Manhattan.press, which is our New York paper, the Manhattan.press. If you go to the top and click on, let me just bring this up into the, hold on a second. Sorry, I just got to bring, well, I just hit the wrong button. Hold on one second, please. I can bring this up. There we go. So the Manhattan.press, if you go to the Manhattan.press top menu and you click on the Manhattan bestsellers, you will see all of our best-selling books. This is the list that competes with the New York Times bestsellers list. We don't have any bias in this list. It's just the best-selling list of the books that sell the most. So there's liberal books on here. There's everything. You can buy the books there. You can check out. Please buy from us and not the globalist Amazon, etc. If you have a book you have to buy for your work, your study, a vacation, or whatever, please buy from us. Go to the CDM bookstore on the top menu and get it from us instead of supporting the globalists. Now, as you know, I've built a big network in Eastern Europe, in Ukraine, Moldova, Poland, in the stands, in the Caucasus, Armenia, Chechnya, etc. But I was in Moscow. I spent a lot of time in Ukraine, probably over a year in the last decade, but I was in Moscow, and this was after the first round of sanctions was initiated, and I just was like shocked at how the sanctions were not really impacting the Russians. So I made this short video. It's a few minutes long, and we're going to have Chris Gleason at the top of the hour, but I just wanted to play this. This is the Russians suffering under sanctions.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
True life Alp story. I got a call from a friend of mine yesterday, honestly, true story, who said his girlfriend had just broken up with him over Alp. He wouldn't stop. And I thought to myself, that's kind of sad. And he said, no, it's not sad. Imagine if I'd married her. Now I know I was saved. Then the next day, this same friend is driving at twice the speed limit through a major American city, pulled over by a cop in a speed trap. Cop takes his license registration, goes back to the patrol car, runs him, comes back, looks in the window, and sees a tin of Alp on the dashboard. Pauses, stunned, says to my friend, "You use Alp?" "Yeah, I do," says my friend. "So do I," says the cop. "We all do." He looks at my friend thoughtfully and goes, "Drive safely, sir," and hands back his license and registration. No ticket. So in 2 days, he's saved from a tragic marriage to a girl who doesn't like Alp and a speeding ticket. All true. It's more than a nicotine patch.
Welcome back to the SCIF. You know, we're not pro-Russian or pro-Ukrainian. We're pro-truth. And the truth is the Russians are not suffering very much by sanctions. They are building their military economy. Of course, their economy is probably too focused on the military now, and that will have to be rebalanced. But as you see in that video, I was just shocked that they weren't suffering. So that's why we made that. And we just want to get the truth out there. And as Thierry said, the truth is that Russia is not suffering from sanctions. They may have certain brands that are not on the shelves, but it's not destroying the economy. In fact, they're quite the opposite. And that's what we've created. A very united and patriotic country is what the Biden administration has created in Russia. We're going to shift now to elections, and I'm going to bring in my good friend Chris Gleason, because he has, again, broken some really powerful information. Chris, thanks for coming on, my friend.
Todd, how are you?
We're good. You're a little choppy, but go ahead, man. Liz Harrington broke or at least tweeted some of your stuff, and it caught my attention. So tell us what you found.
We've been doing statistical analysis of the blank data election cycle, one of which was Howard County, Florida, and I did the state of Maryland, and we found pretty crazy stuff. As we had first discovered this 2020 in the Laurel Loomer congressional race, Florida. Found a couple of matchings, and I always thought that was evidence, some manipulation with the machines.
Hey, Chris, you're coming in like we're getting like every other word, my friend. Can you come out and come back in? Maybe move to a different room or something? Because it's coming in.
Okay.
All right. So
see what I can do.
Jump out and then come back, and I'll bring you back in. So while we're doing that, I wanted to focus. The focus of the show is warmongers and deception of the neocons. There's a very good article on CDM right now about that, and it's Jordan Peterson was out saying that non-interventionists are essentially part of the dark triad, which is narcissism, Machiavellianism, and others. But Mises came out and said that no, actually the dark triad is the neocons. And if you read this article, it's on cdm.press right now. He talks about Irving Kristol, the father of neoconservatism, was a radical anti-Stalinist Trotskyite and later became a Republican. And the whole article breaks down how they have been lying because they feel like they're elites and they know what's best for the nation, what's best for humanity. And so they're going to lie about what's really going on in the Middle East, in Russia, etc., because they have the solution to save humanity. And that is their lies, because they will, start these wars and destroy people who are against freedom and against liberty, when in fact it's themselves who are against liberty. Neoconservatives, I'm just reading from this, arguably employed noble lies like claims that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction to mass strategic aims like regime change. Pivotal neoconservatives Richard Pearl and Norman Podhertz exemplified these Machiavellian and Straussian tactics. Pearl, one of the architects of the Iraq War and co-founder of the Project for a New American Century, advocating regime change, claiming that Saddam possessed WMDs, etc. So you see this throughout the last 20, 30 years, where these neocons have come in, really have been lying to the entire public. They control the media, and they put these narratives out there to use our armed forces, our boys and girls, our kids, to affect regime change around the world. And we've seen the results in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Russia, in Ukraine. All of these wars have been fake. And this is what we want to get out to you, that it's all deception and they've been had. And now Trump, we're going to talk about it after Chris Gleason, but Trump is now recognized this and is changing the game. So I'm going to bring Chris back in. There you are, my friend. Much better.
Oh, great.
Let's start from the top, please.
Sure. So we first identified this anomaly in Laurel Loomer's congressional race back in 2022. And it was an interesting data point. It solidified our concerns with the quote unquote blank ballots. And so over time, we had identified that this was a massive issue all across Florida. We've covered this, extensively. We moved the investigation into Maryland, confirmed that it was going on there with the blank ballots, other states as well. And so what was particularly interesting is in Florida, they decided to hide a lot of this blank ballot data from us in the Florida Election Fraud Legalization Act, known as SB 7050. Now, Broward County apparently has still not received the memo not to steal via blank ballots. And so they have continued on this path. Other counties, they just hide the data. And so what we identified in Broward was that there was in excess of over 223 precincts that had matching percentages of 100% blank ballots being cast in the election. And, so I'm like, well, this is just absolutely insane. They've really leveled up here because every year Broward County keeps going up and up and up and up with the blank ballot count. And so we decided to run some mathematical probabilities on that occurring naturally. And what we found is that the likelihood of that occurring over 4 election cycles is 1 in 1 nonillion.
Yeah.
So we then started looking into Maryland again. And what we're going back and forth right now with one of the more corrupt counties there, Baltimore County. And they're fighting us on releasing certain reports. And they're saying, oh, well, no, that information's on our website. We put it there for you. But they really didn't. Yeah, it's really not there. And I say, okay, look at it. I mean, I've sent like 18 emails back and forth with Baltimore County in particular on this. I spent about a half an hour on the phone with the election administrators there about this. So I brought them up to speed on why they have to give it to me and how it's not discretionary. So hoping to have that here shortly. However, I did run the rest of the state of Maryland. And when we ran that for the state of Maryland, same exact pattern. And so what this does, right, is it may or may not, may or may not be deemed by the courts as clear and convincing evidence, right? But what it does demonstrate is that the machines clearly are not accurate and they're not correct, and or they've been compromised, which we know is true. So the pickle that they are now put in, especially here in Florida, right, is either you have inaccurate machines that don't meet the legal certification requirements for Florida, which is 1 error in 1 million occurrences, okay? Or you have outright fraud and manipulation within the machines using an algorithm. And so either way, they're pretty much caught at this point. And so, what we have seen in Broward County, there were certain precincts that had as much as 30% of all the ballots cast in the precinct as being 100% blank. Now, a lot of people, they always say, well, what's the big deal about a blank ballot? Well, a blank ballot really isn't blank. What a blank ballot is, it's a ballot that was adjudicated by the machine as being 100% blank. And we know, after talking to lots of people, that nobody is going to, in their right mind, go out on election day, vote by mail, early voting, provisionally even, and cast a 100% blank ballot. Nobody would do that. And in Broward County, it becomes so egregious, right, that 30% of all the people in a precinct would do that. Now, the bigger
they're changing votes via the machine.
They're deleting people's votes. They're deleting people's ballots, and that is factual voter disenfranchisement. And that's how you invalidate elections. And so we see it in Palm Beach County, we see it in Broward County, in Hillsborough County. We've seen it all over Maryland, and we've seen it in California. And in Wisconsin, the election administrators there omit the category of blank ballots from the reporting in their entirety. So,
what caught my eye, Chris, is that Liz Harrington tweeted out your research, which she's on Inside the Wire, right? I mean, she's close to POTUS. So that was a signal to me, and I'm like, I got to get Chris on. So have you been a busy beaver behind the scenes, my man? Or what's
I,
going
so we've been working as a team, me and a few other candidates who had our elections stolen from us.
Mhm.
And we're pooling our resources, efforts, and intelligence and data, and we're fighting the good fight. So I've been working with Jeff Bongiorno over in Palm Beach County, John Siamis, and some other folks. We're engaged in hardcore lawfare, taking on the establishment, taking on corrupt judges who were central to obstruction and deprivation of our rights to get a fair trial. In my case and Bongiorno's case and other cases. And so I have been preparing initial briefs for the DCA and the Florida Supreme Court and federal court, showing how every piece of the trial for my cases were compromised, constituting what is called a fundamental error and structural error, where the judge herself or the judge himself, they were materially connected to the facts being litigated in the case. And so we had these judges whose names were on the illegally requested vote by mail ballots on a Sunday, despite the fact that there was a block on the website so that they couldn't do it. And so I tried to disqualify the judges in my case at the county level, and they refused. Then when the case went to the DCA level and they refused to unseal all the exhibits in my case, it became clear that I was not going to get a fair shake there. So I sought to disqualify the compromised judges there. And so they ruled behind obfuscation. They issued a court order without putting any of their names on it related to my case. So I filed a motion for clarification to find out exactly which judges on the DCA panel ruled on my DCA cases. And I'm preparing to take the case to the next level, both federally and with the Florida Supreme Court. So it's a lot. And then we're still working on the smurfing and putting together white papers for the for referral for criminal stuff for the DOJ. And so, yeah, we're busy.
I guess my question is, do you think Team Trump is aware of what's going on the machines?
I mean, if they would have to be living in a cave to not understand this and not know this. Yeah. I mean, these are all everything that we've been working on and pushing on. I mean, they're aware of it. I mean, I know Liz is aware of it. I know that Kurt Olson's aware of it. We've been, sharing this stuff. I mean, we've been the tip of the spear on this election corruption cartel enterprise,
Yes.
So, I mean, we got a briefing the 2 days before my own election. I sent a memo to the president, President Trump, about what the fraud they were going to deploy, and they deployed it every single step of the way, So, I mean, they know. We have to litigate this stuff. I mean, there is a process. We have to expose things every step of the way. And, we know that with so many illegally requested vote by mail ballots, in particular my race, it also affected several congressional races. It affected a lot of other things. We have to document stuff and show who is benefiting and who is participating, to include the judges, which, I mean, there is a lot of judicial corruption. And just because the judge has an R next to their name doesn't mean that they're a good person.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that they're doing the right thing. And judges have to follow the law. And sometimes they need to be reminded of that fact.
Yes, for sure, and or at least scared into it.
Yeah.
So Chris, thank you. Anything else you want to get out to the public?
So keep your eyes peeled for some great new articles coming out shortly in the Miami Independent.
Very cool.
And on Immutable Truth Elections Substack. We're going to be probably doing some press conferences and some big stuff coming up here related to my case and Bonji's case, because the stuff that we're doing, nobody's litigated like this before, and nobody's brought the issues that we've been bringing up. So this is sure to flip the script on a lot of things. So
well, let us know. We'll live stream the press conferences when you're ready.
Good deal.
All
Wonderful.
Right,
all right.
Chris, thank you very much, my friend. We'll see you again soon. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Watching my friends gain more and more weight. And then eventually, I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition. And sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back. Cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
I'm David Cross, and you may know me from my election integrity work, but I also own U.S. Asset Management, an investment advisory practice. I've been an advisor for nearly 30 years, and one of the questions I get asked most frequently is, do I have enough money relative to other people my age? And while that's an interesting question, it's also the wrong question. The right question is do you have enough money to sustain your lifestyle for the rest of your life? This is a question you should know the answer to. This is what we do. Check us out at us-am.com and look for our big proud American Eagle logo.
We have put flogging over Africa. Foot, flogging over Africa. Boot, moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. 7, 6, 11.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Our focus today is deception by the neocons, and that's something that we want to keep on because it's been happening on a major scale, and it's been happening for decades, and you need to be aware of it. There's a great article on the Federalist today about Trump's speech, and they're saying not only did Trump lambast neocon nation building in the region, he more or less avowed that never to pursue the kinds of neocon misadventures that split American blood and treasure over the past 25 years in the insane pursuit of creating Western liberal democracies in the Middle East. This is highly interesting. There's an article on CDM.press right now. Trump meets Syrian leader. I don't believe in permanent enemies. Trump remaking the Middle East, and the Israelis are not happy for one. And some of their journalists are putting out some pretty mocking videos, images. This is one I'll bring up right now or in a second. where they're just mocking the president and saying he's supporting terrorism. They altered the photo there and made the Syrian leader a jihadi, which he used to be. But Trump is saying, look, we're moving on. We're moving on from Ukraine. We're moving on from Hamas in Israel, and we're going to make peace in the region and make everybody rich. And we're going to stop being enemies. And he's trying to do the same thing with Iran. We'll see if all this works in Ukraine, in Iran, in the Middle East, in Hamas, in Gaza, in Lebanon with Hezbollah. I don't know. Maybe the Israelis are right that, the wars need to continue. But Trump is doing his best to end the wars, because guess what? Who has to fight the wars at the end of the day? It's you and our families and our children. And that's what we're trying to avoid. So check that out. It's a big theme we're going to have going forward as to what is the truth. What is the neocon philosophy of deception to get America's armies to fight wars for regime change and for deceiving the American public? In that vein, there is an article up on the Georgia Record, georgiarecord.com, about Brian Kemp. Brian Kemp is obviously a globalist, and we're going to start really calling him out. There's an election coming up for the chair of the Georgia Republican Party. Josh McCoon runs it now. We made a change to the picture there with Klaus Schwab and put Brian Kemp on it. But we're talking about what Kemp has done. With Liz Harrington and Chris Gleason's reporting, it's very obvious that Kemp is working for the other team. Kemp installed the machines with the Secretary of State office in Georgia that he held before the governorship. He was instrumental in bringing the Dominion machines into Georgia. He said they weren't connected to the internet. They are. He has refused to address the concerns about electronic voting machines. He has flown to Davos many times to meet with globalist leaders. He didn't say a word about human trafficking discovered at Hartsville Airport by Georgia State Senator Colton Moore, which is another globalist priority. Kemp didn't say a word when illegal immigrants in large numbers were found working at Georgia manufacturing plants. They raided the Hyundai plant in Georgia, and 90% of them ran for the fences to escape because they were all illegal. Kemp obviously knows this and knew this and is still being quiet about it to this day. Kemp pushed tort reform upon his return from his last trip in Davos to protect globalist companies. That was his main, you go to Davos and you come back and all of a sudden it's not elections, it's not health, it's not crime, it's not violence, it's not illegal immigration, it's tort reform to help globalist chemical companies, Chinese chemical companies and German chemical companies have liability against the health of the people of Georgia. So he needs to be removed from power. And Josh McCoon, who works for him at the Georgia Technical College for the state of Georgia, who is the head of the Georgia GOP, needs to be removed in this next election. And we need a new leadership in the Georgia GOP. Along with that, there's another story I wanted to bring up, which is Cuba. Let me bring this up now. Excuse me. China is planning a gambit in Cuba to squeeze the U.S. on the play for Taiwan. Keep us occupied in Cuba in the second missile crisis, and then they can take Taiwan. This is another story we're going to stay on. John Mills has a great column on cdm.press right now about this, and it's extremely important. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and go through a few more stories before we close out the show.
Okay, ready?
Ready. So we're out in the field in South Dakota shooting pheasants, and we're coming out here to a Milo field you can see behind us, and I was throwing in an ALK. Someone else was using a tobacco product. And then somebody, and I'm not going to name names, pulled that out in public at a hunt. And so that's obviously yesterday. What we have here, ALK, is tomorrow. And we're going to make that official by symbolically ending the long reign of this product. Willie Robertson happened to be hunting with us. We don't have a mechanical fur, but we do have former U.S. Senator Rick Santorum of Pennsylvania. With an arm. Willie's got a 12 gauge. I've got my trusty 20. And we're going to see what we can do to usher out the Zen era. Yes! So, I should say, alppouch.com. For sale now, alppouch.com. Usher in tomorrow a brand new world of nicotine pouches. The American Lip Pillow on sale now.
Warning! This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive.
I'm David Cross, and you may know me from my election integrity work, but I also own U.S. Asset Management, an investment advisory practice. I've been an advisor for nearly 30 years, and one of the questions I get asked most frequently is, do I have enough money relative to other people my age? And while that's an interesting question, it's also the wrong question. The right question is do you have enough money to sustain your lifestyle for the rest of your life? This is a question you should know the answer to. This is what we do. Check us out at us-am.com and look for our big proud American Eagle logo.
Welcome back to the SCIF. I wanted to bring up a story. If you've been watching what happened with the Trump tariffs and the negotiations that were allegedly going on, we played Trump a lot saying that, yes, we're talking to China. We're talking to him over and over. I'm not going to tell you who's talking to China, as in which officials we're talking to, but yes, we're talking to China. China was coming out and saying, no, we're not talking to anyone. We're not talking to the United States. That's a lie. So, of course, they were talking to the United States. And let me just scroll down. This is an article on cdm.press about that exact issue. And if you look at this picture, this is a picture of Chinese representatives, officials going into the Department of Treasury to speak to the Treasury officials about China and about the tariffs. And so they were lying. So there were representatives coming into the Treasury and talking to the Trump administration about removing tariffs long before the meeting in Switzerland with Secretary of Treasury Bessent, who closed the deal. And now the rest is history, and that tariffs are coming down on China and the United States. So we had another guest that was going to come on, and they just dropped out. So we'll try to get them back tomorrow. But that's it for the show today. I'm going to close it out. We'll be back tomorrow at 10. Really appreciate the audience. Please support us, cdm.press. Put us in your scan daily, morning, noon, and night. That's what we need is traffic. We need to get the show bigger. You need to sign up for subscribe to YouTube, CDM1 on Rumble, and just help us out. Help spread the show. Spread the links. Tell your friends. We are an intel brief that brings what you need to know to be very effective during the day. And, of course, it's a live show, so there's always kind of starts and stops and changes, but it is what it is. It's live TV. And sometimes we tape some of this, but most of the time we're live. So thank you for coming on today. We'll see you tomorrow on the SCIF, 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. And on the Georgia show tonight at 7 p.m. with Bill Quinn. Big news we're going to break in Georgia tonight on Rumble X Gettr and on cdm.press and on georgiarecord.com. So join us then. We'll see you tonight on the Georgia show at 7 and tomorrow at 10 a.m. on the SCIF. Thanks for joining us.